Guys, welcome back. I've got Robbie Jack with me today, and he was also one of the founders of TrueCoach. Robbie, though, as I'm gonna inject this on you here, Robbie. He's one of the best marketers that I have seen when it comes to systematic and strategic marketing, particularly on the digital side. And obviously, I know, Robbie, you can do a heck of a lot more. But when I talk to you about how you acquire clients and leads, I'm intensely impressed by what you're capable of. So I'm really excited to talk about engaging people, building awareness, all of that, particularly within the digital space. But thanks for coming on, man. I appreciate it. For us, this is a Friday afternoon, so I appreciate you coming on later on. And thanks for being here.
Well, thanks, Jim. Yeah, excited to be here and share whatever information that's useful that I have with your audience. So I've been looking forward to this.
Awesome, man. Well, can you do us a favor? Can you just fairly quickly give us some context, how you got to TrueCoach, what you've loved doing leading up to it now? Just give us a little bit of background.
Yeah, I'll start at square one. You know, I've actually known my co-founder Casey since third grade, and we were both into sports, but we were also like huge computer nerds. And I think we got our start building gaming PCs and playing kind of games with each other, and you know, trying to eke the most power out of the computer for the game. And it kind of sent us down this rabbit hole, sent me down this rabbit hole of like learning how to actually build the computer. And I think I was quite fortunate to grow up in a time where you still could build your own computer and you didn't just get it off the shelf. And so it kind of opened up my mind to this whole world of computer science and web development and software engineering. And I just feel very fortunate. Had the right mentors and people at an early age to pursue that. Had a lot of support from teachers and early employers. And that, you know, so I went to school at University of Florida for computer science and got a minor in entrepreneurship. I grew up in a small business, so I kind of was like in a business my whole life. And I kind of absorbed more than I realized, just kind of growing up and seeing my dad and how he ran his business. It was a Pearl Vision franchise in a mall in Naples, Florida. And, you know, even early on, I was kind of his IT guy behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And always working on his computer systems and helping him out there. And I was kind of that kid that was like always fixing everybody's computer reluctantly. In reality, I didn't fix anything. I swear I would just turn the thing on, it would work. And they'd be like, oh my God, you fixed my computer. And just in the right place at the right time. But I got a start in web development around middle school, and I learned HTML and just kind of self-taught. I picked up a book, and you know, one of the cool things about the web is on any web page to this day, you can view source. You can actually see the source code behind the scenes of any website. And I thought that was so cool, you know, learning HTML and then being able to go to a site and actually look at the code and make that connection of, oh, I could actually create this. And so it started really as just messing around. It was a hobby, putting just the most nonsensical websites up in middle school and high school, and just getting a kick out of like, look, this is actually online, and like the adults can't stop you from doing this. You can put anything you want online. So it felt like a little bit mischievous and kind of like just exciting to be online in those early days. And so like getting out of college, you know, I was already kind of spoiled. I was doing like, you know, freelance web development for small businesses. And that's how I made money on the side. And I took an internship at University of Florida in their tech licensing department, which was the department that takes intellectual property that the school invents and then commercializes it. And I was kind of their webmaster for 4 years. And it was great because they just kind of, I was the only web developer in the department, and they paid me a nice like $12.50 an hour, you know, wage. And I was working maybe 10, 15 hours a week. And I did that for 4 years. And I really feel like that's where I had the freedom in the space at the UF to kind of, you know, sharpen my teeth around like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, some of the early web tech. And it was really tricky building websites then. It was not really sensical. Like it would look different in every browser, and all the protocols were brand new. And the benefit though, like when I got out of school, I just jumped right into freelancing. You know, everybody needed a website. And so, and I knew how to build them. So I was building, you know, content management systems and marketing websites. And I had picked up open source when I was in school. So I was using PHP and MySQL and some of these open source tools, which were free. And so what I realized it was nearly free or cheap for me to build a web app. It was my time, but to actually host it, deploy it, didn't cost a lot of money. And I could go out and sell and market these websites and these apps for very high hourly rate. And so I freelanced for a long time and eventually wound up in a job. And the first job I took, front end, like a lead front end web developer, doing that same kind of stuff in a tech company, and immediately like realized I did not like being an employee in a larger tech company, especially a more mature enterprise one, for a lot of reasons. It was a cool company, but definitely not my cup of tea. And so I lasted about 8 months before I quit. And it was funny, I quit during the first big phase of the last recession. So I quit that job right out of college. I had it for 8 months. They were laying everybody off, and then I come in and quit. And they're like, what the heck, man? And I'm so glad I did, because I was still young enough. I didn't have any expenses. I could actually make a move like that and not take a lot of risk. You know, I'd saved up salary for 8 months, and then I felt completely comfortable just jumping right back into freelancing, even though the entire economy had just collapsed in 08, 09. And if you look back now, there were so many interesting companies that are huge now that started in that recession.
Oh yeah.
Like Stripe and Shopify and just these companies that are massive now. And so, not to get on an aside, but we're kind of back in that situation now. And I think we'll look back at these next few years and be like, wow, that company started when everybody else was scared, because there were opportunities. There were less people starting companies, and there was less competition. Obviously, it's more challenging to start a company now, but that barrier entry can be a benefit. And so, flash forward, I worked at a lot of startups. I kind of made it my thing, and I started to burn out on software development in my mid-20s. So I made a pivot into digital marketing, and that was kind of cool because, it helped me enjoy software development on the side as a hobby again. When I was getting paid to do it, I started to really hate it. I really hated specializing. And I think, when you start to feel that burnout, sometimes it's smart to make a shift and try to learn something new or go somewhere else for a while, take a break. So I got into digital marketing, and gosh, that was over 10 years ago. And so now I kind of in this position where I have this, career start in software development, but I made a mid-career pivot into digital marketing. And now I do them both in tandem, which is really cool. And so, I was working startup jobs, and I'm staying in touch with Casey, and Casey goes off with his wife, and they open CrossFit Kings Point and just build this awesome CrossFit gym in Orlando. I'm not a CrossFitter myself, but I'm on the sidelines watching them and rooting for them. And they just had that hustle and that grind. I do remember them literally like sleeping in their gyms to just, they were that committed that they were so busy with work, they would just continue to work. And through that kind of grit, they built that gym, and I had a lot of respect for what they did. And so when Casey broke off and they sold their gym and he started TrueCoach, I was very interested in what he was doing, and stayed in touch. And at the time I was working a job, and I came to Casey at one point and said, "Hey man, I love what you're doing. It's always kind of been, a dream of mine to work together one day on something. And this felt like the perfect opportunity." So we teamed up on TrueCoach very early. He was about 8 months into building it. And I came on and said, look, you're doing he built the initial app himself. He's marketing it. He's doing support. He's wearing all the hats in the business. And I'm like, I can take that marketing side and take that off your plate, and I can focus on that. And that's kind of where it started. And then that was 2015, late 2015. And so fast forward to now, more or less, I've just been doing that. I've just been focusing on marketing and really focusing on customer acquisition and growing the customer count and growing the revenue of TrueCoach. And digital marketing has kind of been my go-to strategy for doing that.
When you think about the outcomes that you were trying to achieve at TrueCoach, how did you define who you were going to go after? And then can you walk us through some of the iterations and/or steps you took to become successful at that?
Yeah. So to the first question, who are we going after early? Well, before I even came in, Casey, for instance, was talking to James at OPEX, and people like James. And I think the business term is he was doing customer development, right? Before he wrote a single line of code, he was interviewing and talking to coaches and saying, what are your pain points as a trainer, as a coach, as a gym owner? And what are some of your processes and workflows? What's holding you up? Like, are you using these digital tools? Are you still analog? How do you run your business? And I think Casey was really strategic to have those conversations, there's lots of them, and have them in a structured way long before he wrote any code.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it came time to actually build the prototype, it's really hard it takes a long time to write code. It's a lot easier to like ideate, put it on paper and throw it out. But once you start writing code, you're committed. And so I do believe, like, by the time Casey started actually writing code, he had a good enough vision of what he was actually building through talking with early adopters like James, to actually build more or less the right thing first. And that's validated looking back. I mean, the core features of TrueCoach, the workout builder, the workout library, live chat, those were all in the initial MVP, albeit in a much simplified form. But all of those core features are still the core features. We've just refined them, made them more powerful, and iterated on them dozens and dozens of times since then.
What would you estimate then the number of hours that TrueCoach has spent talking to OPEX and or big dogs on the platform? It's got to be 1,000 hours, right? Like
tens of thousands, I swear, because when I came on board, Casey was already probably 5,000 conversations deep in intercom, just Casey. Then he eventually hired Kate Alexander.
Yep.
And she took what he was doing and took it up a notch. And so the sheer quantity of conversations, it's literally the tens of thousands.
Yeah.
And that's always been kind of core because we learn so much from what the users tell us. We can't build it all, but we're always listening. And a lot of the most powerful features in the app now came directly from customers saying, when are we going to get this? We need this, to the point where we have to build it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And that forcing function is really powerful because you build the right things when you let the customers tell you what they need.
That's something that I wish coaches and gym owners would do more often, is actually ask the questions and then write it all down and figure out what the priorities need to be in order to make improvements on a gym, a coaching business, a remote coaching business. It's such a simple idea, but you guys actually take it and put it into your process and iterate off of all of those comments. What do you guys look for? Like, what would be the type of comment that you guys would flag as, ooh, that's important? Or is it just the sheer amount of volume of a same comment that you're looking for?
I mean, I'm long out of support, and even in the history of the company, I've always helped. We do what we call support pairing, where everybody in the company does shifts on support. I think that's really valuable because we're all talking to customers. But I think the first one is severity, right? If it's a bug or if there's something functionally wrong or mission critical, that's immediately escalated, and we're on it. And I think that's one of our advantages as a startup, and we have amazing engineers. When they hear there's a bug, they mobilize. Nobody has to tell anybody to fix it. Everybody's just like, oh my God, I can't believe there's a bug. Like, let's go fix it. So I think stuff like that is always top priority. Not really a feature though. I think longer term, obviously if you're hearing the same suggestions or the same complaints from multiple customers over time, we tag those conversations in Intercom, our live chat system, with different tags. So one might be, we'd really like to be able to process payments in the platform. Huge feature, going to take us a lot of time to build, but when everybody's continually asking for that, it becomes a no-brainer at some point. Mm-hmm. And why is that? Well, it's logical. Like, charging money consistently and asking for money and billing is a major pain point for personal trainers and coaches. So if we can automate that or make it less tedious, or improve that process in any way, we have a lot of confidence if we build that and take the time and energy to build it, it will add value to the platform and kind of increase the value we're delivering to our users.
Yeah, and what I love about that, and I know it's just principle, like you probably don't even think about this anymore because you've done it for so long, but it's you building higher probability of success and certainty because people are telling you straight to your face, this is what would benefit us. I think coaches underplay that. They don't realize that commentary is that important to not just the person saying it, but likely many, many other people. So those pain points are not just to that one person, it's to multiple people. So how do you?
I think the first step is just asking, right? Creating opportunities to ask. In our world, we love live chat because it's a chat widget on the website. They're browsing the site, they're reading the blog, and they feel invited to ask questions, or they're in the app, right? And so many great conversations come organically from those live chat combos. And so that's one way we've kind of been more systematic about it. We put it on every page.
So when you start thinking about acquiring coaches as customers, what were some of the big milestones that you found, or some of the big projects that you put in place on the marketing side?
I think the first question we had to answer for investors was, what's the total addressable market, right? You guys are selling software in this niche sector of just personal trainers, really personal trainers doing individual design. That's the core use case, very similar to what OPEX is doing. And it's like, so early on, a lot of investors said that's way too small, it's way too niche. And we had to go out and do the research and really ask ourselves, who could actually benefit from this? Now, what we realized was it's actually all personal trainers.
Yep.
They might not all be doing online coaching or hybrid or individual design yet, but we were confident to make the gamble that long-term digital coaching would become more prevalent than it was. And that turned out to be the case. So I think we had conviction early on in that basic premise that coaches would go digital at some point.
Prior to COVID, what would you say your percentage of coaches only online versus in person, or in person with a touch of online was?
I don't know the hard numbers, but I will tell you this: there's been a massive shift, and we probably do have the data if we really want to unpack it. But yeah, I would assume there's a big shift going from pure in person to either hybrid or pure online, and I would see the whole market shifting more into that hybrid and online.
Is there any data that you could think about that would be sitting in your conversations or in your platform that would say, I'm going to stay online as compared to go back to brick and mortar?
I think a lot of the ways we think about long-term success is around retention, right? If a coach is onboarding a bunch of online clients during COVID, getting them onboarded is step one. That's the entry level. That's table stakes. Now it's all retention. So if you're good at retention, I think of course you're going to continue to train more clients online after COVID, because you're going to realize the value of recurring long-term revenue and the predictability that brings to your business. And also the scalability of coaching online and batching out programs and the things you can do online that scale better than what you can do in person. So I think my gut tells me a lot of people are going to stay online once they've gotten a taste for it. I think it's also dictated by the clients. You know, if the clients are really enjoying working out from home or working out on their own terms, the clients aren't going to go back. They might leave that coach if that's not working, but they'll probably go find another online coach because now they've been introduced to it. So I think that this shift is long term. I obviously don't think it's going to wipe out in-person fitness.
No,
if I can do that, it's too big. But it's definitely signaling to me personally that online coaching just became way more relevant overnight.
Yep.
And it's going to be to some extent around for a very long time. I don't see it going away.
No, I mean, I think it will evolve like everything else, but people want options that are convenient to them. I mean, that's one of the biggest fitness things of all time, right? I want it to be convenient. Now, if convenient is a 10-minute drive and you can get it to a 0-minute drive and you have self-responsibility enough to do a workout, you know, it's like you got 20 minutes back just in of that. But
I'll tell you something new I'm seeing that I hadn't seen post-COVID, and that's a lot of clients reaching out to us on Twitter and saying, thank you. And they're thanking us. Now, really, they should be thanking their coach. But they're saying, thank you. This is really helping me get through the pandemic. I can't go to my gym, but I'm working out in my garage and I actually love it. And I got some equipment. I got some basic equipment and I've got my coach. And actually, I actually like this quite a lot more than going to the gym. That particular person is probably never going back to a big box gym.
Yeah.
And that is a scary prospect, but they're definitely going to have a longer relationship with that coach in an ID kind of setting.
Definitely. That we're seeing that even in OPEX gyms, where we actually think OPEX gyms will be able to serve a significantly higher number of clients, because we think that if somebody used to train 4 or 5 days a week in the gym, they will likely go to 2 or 3 days a week in the gym with more days out of the gym, which allows more clients to be in the gym prior to even having remote only clients.
Well, and I know my experience, right? What's my bottleneck? I need a program to follow.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my biggest excuses for not working out, especially from home, especially during this weird time where like it's very hard to find motivation. And I think, I just think that the impact that a coach can have remotely got even bigger, because the clients need them more right now than ever.
Yeah, and
I don't realize it yet, but if you do a good job onboarding them and kind of delivering value early online, I think there is a way to transition people from their old life going to a gym and doing it on their own or with a trainer in person to now, I think, envisioning a future where, they're working out on their own terms with their own equipment and taking that money they would have spent on a nice gym, and maybe they're spending it on a different type of facility and on a coach.
Mm-hmm.
It's making people change their idea of what fitness looks like, I think.
For sure. We've seen a lot of clients that have completely changed their perspective on, we've got kind of like a big four: balance, energy, rhythm, and purpose. And they're very open to what those things really mean now, so purpose looks really different for people right now than it did 6 weeks ago. And for the most part, outside of some really difficult kids, situations happening at home with folks, we are seeing that a lot of people are enjoying this lifestyle, where they're
surprised. They're like, oh my gosh, I would have never done this if it weren't for this crisis. I'm forced to work out from home. Wow, I wish I would have started this sooner.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you figure out the total addressable market, and you're confident in that. Big step 2, what was that?
So I think, in that note, zooming out to all personal trainers, all gyms, and really thinking grassroots, like mom and pop, small gyms, boutique studios, micro gyms. We had no intention of going. So we knew who we weren't built for. We were not enterprise software built for Planet Fitness. Mm-hmm. That just was not in the cards. And so we were very intentional about that. So then step 2 was, in my opinion, this is getting into some opinionated stuff, but I think step 2 for me was building my lists, right? I'm a marketer. I'm starting from scratch. Who's my list? Well, the initial list are those beta test users, James, and the 50 or so beta users that were in TrueCoach in the early days. The next list are all the people. So we have a free trial. We've had a free trial from the beginning. Started as a 14-day free trial. Now it's a 30-day free trial post-COVID. And we don't ask for a credit card up front. We just want to let people, give it a spin, test it out, see if they like it, and not get in their way and not put up artificial barriers. So, anyone who signed up for that trial who didn't ultimately become a customer, to me, was the highest value prospect, because it's like I lost them. I got them all the way to use the app, but I couldn't get them over the hurdle. So early in the business, almost all of our marketing attention was on the people that signed up for the trial that didn't convert.
And really quickly, Robbie, that attention means what? Like, what are you doing with those people?
Yeah, so when they first signed up for the trial, they went through what we would call our onboarding experience. There'd be a series of emails they'd get from our director of customer success and the support team. They'd get an email from Casey that explains why he built the platform. They would get links to the help center and certain tutorials and videos we made. And what we're trying to do is get them quickly to see the value of the application. For us, that means getting them to add a client and actually start programming a workout. Because if someone signs up for the trial and they don't do that, they're never going to get value out of our platform, and they won't sign up. So I think onboarding was a big focus, and trying to optimize those emails. So, there's a series of, let's say, 10 emails that go out over 30 days. What's in those emails? How are they actually helping you achieve the outcome of getting the coach to actually use the application to an extent that they see the value, so that it clicks? And so it became about creating very clear goals in the funnel. So goal one is getting them in a free trial. Well, actually, goal one is just getting them to know we exist.
Mm-hmm.
Goal two would be getting them to get in a free trial. And goal three would be getting them to activate, meaning getting them to actually use the app and log in consistently. If they're logging in every day and they're building workouts, we're quite confident there's a likelihood they're going to actually get value out of this and become a customer. And then the big goal, the macro goal, is at the end of that trial, they actually decide to put a credit card in and start spending money with us.
Mm-hmm.
And we feel like we have to earn that goal, and it's actually like quite a difficult thing to pull off.
Yeah, when you use those different parts, I mean, call it a buying cycle, call it a funnel, call it whatever you want, right? Yeah. But when you look at each of those different steps, are you spending very, very focused time in each of those areas? So for example, did you spend 6 months doing awareness with 90% of your time and the other 10 was focused on the others? How do you break your time out to those different parts of the funnel?
Yeah, this is critical. So it changes over the lifespan of your business. Early on, 99% of my time was spent on the people that were in the bottom of the funnel. Now, eventually we got good enough at automating and streamlining that process that I could actually get my head above water and start focusing onto the people that I would say in the middle of the funnel. Only in the last few years did we actually start focusing on building the brand and building awareness at the top of funnel in a meaningful way. Now, I'm a firm believer that, when your marketing budgets are low, and the marketing team early on was just me for a very long time. I only had so many hours in the day and I had a very small budget. So I had to make sure that I was getting a return on my time and energy and the money I spent from day one. So to me, it wasn't really a choice. I had to focus on the highest probability prospects, meaning the people I start at the bottom of the funnel.
And I'm sorry to stop you. Bottom of the funnel, if you don't know it, it just means closest to buying.
Closest to buying. So that'd be in a free trial, but haven't bought yet.
Perfect. Okay.
And they get all my attention. Now, once I figure out how to consistently convert those people with sales, with marketing, with support, then I say, okay, I'm going to let that sit for a while. I'm just going to lock that in. I'm not going to change those emails for a while. I'm going to go focus middle of funnel. I'd say a few years ago, we started to focus more middle of funnel. At that point, I'd say 20% of my time and budget was middle of funnel, 0 top, and the rest bottom, right? Like it was heavily weighted middle and bottom, and really still bottom. Now you fast forward today, it's almost inverted. I'm probably spending 70% of my time and energy top of funnel. And I'm still showing ads to people in bottom of funnel. I'm still creating blog posts and content. I'm still emailing them, but I'm really doing the same things I was doing years ago there. The leaps forward we're making is now we're bringing all of these new eyeballs onto the product. We're bringing all this new attention in and moving those people to the free trial and then into like a paying relationship with us.
And something that I think is so important about that, you and I have had this conversation a lot. I've learned a ton from you on funnel creation over the years. So many people are putting so much time and energy, spending money and spending time building awareness when they have nothing to follow it up. And all of those leads just fall out and they wonder how they didn't get conversion. If you don't have something that will convert them to a sale, or if you don't know your product well enough or don't know what converts them to a sale, how in the world is the top of the funnel where people start? And I say that because so many predatory type business coaches or digital marketers come at you with, we can do your Facebook, we can do your Facebook. And it's like, for what? It's like, you don't have a sales process. You don't have an onboarding process. You don't have emails that work. It's unfortunate that people are getting crushed by that. But how did you know that was the way? Like, would there have been a scenario where you would have inverted sooner, or?
No, because we had such little cash to work with. It was
Okay.
we were bootstrapped. It was Casey and I each put a little money in, and that's what we were working with. So until we had early investors, we had to be so scrappy. So it was really, I had enough digital marketing experience to know, okay, if I have to get, let's just say for every dollar I spend on marketing, I'm trying to get $10 in lifetime revenue from that. That's hyper efficient,
Yep.
capital efficiency. So the only way to do that is to pick off the low hanging fruit. And the low hanging fruit statistically are the people that are closest to buying temporally, right? So if you had a 14-day trial, the person on day 12 or 13, if they had made it that far and they were actually using the app, they're probably 80-90% likely to buy. But I don't want to drop the ball. I want to stay in touch with them until I get them over the goal line, and then I can back off. And if they make it that far and they don't sign up, I still want to back off. I don't want to keep showing someone ads if they're not interested. And so I think the broader metaphor for this would be the customer journey, right? And it starts at the first time they ever hear about you from a friend or they see an ad, and then to a month later when they're pulling out their credit card and actually saying, I value this enough that I'm going to actually pay for this every month because I'm going to get more out of this than what I'm paying. And if they don't believe that, or that ultimately doesn't materialize, they will leave. And you don't have a great business if people are signing up and leaving. So once you get them, it becomes more about retention. That's a side conversation. And I think that's probably a more important conversation. I think as a marketer, my focus has become more on acquisition and activation. And then retention is a whole different bag of worms.
Yep. Okay. Outside of the technical aspects of building that funnel, what were some of the traits or the emotions that you noticed that coaches needed to feel when they were moving through the acquisition process?
Okay, I think there's two sides to this coin. There's the emotional side and the logical side. So my strength is I think I'm stronger on the logical side. So I started thinking about what's the unique value proposition that TrueCoach provides to our coaches. And by talking to coaches and by thinking about this, and just by working on the platform for so long, it became very clear over time what our top three were. One was saving time. We realized we could help coaches save an immense amount of time by using software effectively, by automating the emails, by automating a lot of the notifications, by rolling things up into a digest, and by allowing coaches to batch out workouts. So saving time, probably still to this day, the biggest value proposition. When we say we help coaches save time, we mean it. I mean, and we know it because we're always hearing this back from coaches. The next one is growing their coaching business. You're limited geographically, you're limited by hours in the day, you're limited by the amount of people walking into your gym. If you're in a traditional facility and you're doing personal training the way it's always been done. And with TrueCoach, as a freelance coach or a gym owner, one coach in theory could adequately serve dozens and dozens, if not over 100 clients. And I've seen the whole spectrum, and create a program that's individualized and high quality enough that it's delivering value clearly. And so we really do believe for the right coaches, there's ability to 10X, and not in a cheesy way, 10X the impact they can have. And I've seen a lot of coaches pull it off. Definitely big dogs coaches, OPEX coaches.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I think so growing their coaching business. Now, we can't help you go market. We can't help you become a marketing expert, but a lot of these coaches we're working with already had a reputation and already have access to clients. And there is help out there if you do struggle with the marketing side and the business side. We're squarely more focused on the operational side of scaling. But I digress. Grow your coaching business would be the second value proposition. The third one, train your clients online. That one becomes the most relevant one now. That was probably the third value prop back in the day because people weren't really doing it yet, but we could kind of say, look, this is going to be the future. You want to get ahead of this. Now that's our top value proposition. We've kind of reordered it. Train your clients online. That's what a lot of people are searching for. And they're trying to figure out a solution on how to do that. But basically a mix of those three. So on the logical side of the equation. Emotionally, I think it's quite simple, honestly. You need trust, credibility. authenticity, right? They want to feel supported. Are you responsive? If they ask a question, are you responding in 15 minutes or are you responding in 2 days? I think that the basics of good, responsive, reactive support, being able to respond quickly to questions, solve problems quickly, listening to like we were talking about earlier, listening to the coaches, building this rapport and building a relationship, and kind of thinking about sales more through the lens of education and activation, not through, I'm focused on getting this person's credit card and that's all that matters. Because you'll never get to that macro conversion and that sign up if these people don't like you, trust you, and find you credible and find the platform actually tangibly valuable to what they're doing. So you've got a hard job to kind of make that case before you can ask for the sale. You can't just go right for the sale.
So are you saying that in all of this with really low budgets early on, you stay with the beta users really aggressively, you go after the most statistically likely to convert? How did TrueCoach do this if you weren't spending a lot of time at the top of the funnel?
So eventually you run out of people to retarget, to email, and you need to actually grow your list. And this is when we started focusing on middle of funnel. I think big dogs and OPEX have been great at this sector because you have to create content, webinars, blog posts, lead magnets, free education, because they're not ready for a trial yet. So those people that are sitting in the middle of the funnel, they haven't even signed up for a trial. I need to still get their email address somehow, and I still need things I can send them. I need a way to stay in touch with them, whether it's through advertising or through email marketing. I love email marketing because it's not free, but it's pretty cheap. And when you're scrappy, it's way cheaper than ads.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is hard to create content. I'm not trivializing that, but it's really important early to understand email marketing. And so as we zoomed out, we started doing lead generation. And then those leads would be people we would try to get in the trial, right? Mm-hmm. And so that meant producing authentic content, being on video more, being in front of customers, being with them in person, meetups in the old world, in the pre-COVID world. Actually, yeah, like FaceTime with people. I hope to get back to that. I think, we just have to shift. We said, okay, bottom funnel's good enough. We've doubled, at some point we had doubled the conversion rate. It started at 10%, meaning 10% of the trials became customers. Through our efforts, focusing just like a laser on bottom of funnel, those emails, those ads, those support combos, the response time, right? We doubled that to 20%. That was massive for our business because now we get 100 trials. Instead of getting 10 customers, we get 20. And so that gives us all of this ammunition to go out now and spend more money middle of funnel.
Yep.
Spend money to produce content. And so we kind of earned our way into the middle. And for years we were there. And what that looked like is running ads to the content, promoting our content, running ads to the lead magnets, creating landing pages to capture the lead, using Facebook lead ads to capture the lead in Facebook, and quickly routing that to an email system, and then following up with really well-written emails. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people don't work with copywriters soon enough. And it's like, if you don't want to write the email, go on Upwork. There are so many talented copywriters that will help you craft your written sales copy for more performance-based outcomes.
How do you as a marketing leader ensure that copywriter really gets it? And you've got a lot of experience. How about for coaches, etc.? They don't know what they need to write in an email initially. How do you get the right person to craft that message?
I mean, if you're talking to someone cold and they don't come through a good reference, like obviously go through your other business owners, try to find a real reference through someone but if not, you're coming at this cold. I think a way to quickly tell, you probably just want to look at some of their past work, their portfolio, and see if it's on the right tone, the right style that you would want to see in your copy. You want to ask them about outcomes. It's always about the outcomes they achieved. Was it an increase in performance, signups, leads? Was it a reduction in the cost per free trial? Or, you want to really talk outcomes. You don't just want a good writer. You want someone that knows how to write to get a certain outcome, whether that's a free trial or a customer or selling a product. And so when I say copywriting, I really mean sales copywriting. I think that's critical. So you don't just want a copywriter or copy editor. You want to find someone that I believe has a background or an expertise that you can verify through their work in sales copywriting. And you don't really need to overthink it at that point. If you have a good sales copywriter, the next thing would be, do they work in fitness, right? There are plenty of copywriters I know. Our first copywriter, Kevin Kwan, came to us cold, former gym owner, excellent copywriter, best copywriter I've worked with. And he came to us cold. I've never heard of him. And he got our business because he's like, look, I owned a gym. Mm-hmm. I know your customers' pain points and I write sales copy. That was kind of a unicorn scenario for us. He found us. But if you're going out looking for a copywriter, look for people that worked in fitness, you know?
Okay. So you've got the bottom figured out. You've boosted it to 20%. You start building content, doing lead generation in the middle of the funnel. At what point was it time to go to that top of the funnel, and how did you do that?
Yeah, so again, we hit another bottleneck. We're shifting our ad budgets and some of our resources middle of funnel, and we're getting leads, and we're getting more trials, and we're getting more sales. But now it's getting more expensive to get leads, and we're running out of them. And so then how do we get more leads? Well, we need more eyeballs on the TrueCoach website. So now we start thinking about reach, awareness, and top of funnel. Now, what's going to get someone to click off to the TrueCoach site if they've never heard of us? It's not the same piece of advertising or content that's going to get them to ultimately add that client and sign up for an account. And so we started producing more video, because I really believe, like, top of funnel, you know, YouTube, Instagram videos, Instagram stories, you can create a nice, short, simple 15-second clip that quickly gets them interested in your product. And then all you're really trying to get now is the click. Mm-hmm. Really, you're trying to just get them to be aware that you exist so that they go search for you later, that the next time they see you, it's not cold. And so you have to change your metrics. You can't be worried so much about the cost per sale if you're doing top of funnel. You need to be thinking about the cost per click, or maybe the cost per lead. Mm-hmm. That cost per lead is what keeps it honest. And what I mean is, if you're not getting an acceptable cost per lead, and it's a different number for every business based off your unit economics, but if you're not getting real leads or real clicks and real visitors from that, you're wasting money. And so you very quickly have to figure out analytically, like, how do I know this traffic's good? And that's something that I've been really meticulous about, is having really solid data and clean, accurate analytics and tracking, so that when I do start to invest money in these riskier propositions of, like, creating awareness and reach, that I still know I'm getting bang for my buck. I'm still getting ROI, and it's contributing. And I think, it's different metrics and different outcomes for different stages in the journey. And you have to wrap your head around that. You have to be willing to take a little more risk and open up your TAM, right? Like, start showing your ads to people that maybe you don't think are interested in your product, but you need to go test and see if they might be. Mm-hmm. So early on for us, it was micro gyms, CrossFit gyms, individual design coaches, online coaches. Now at the top of funnel, my top of funnel is 2.5 to 5 million personal trainers globally. Mm-hmm. Very different audience. And so the ads and the budgets have to be much higher when you're showing ads to that many people in that many countries. You have to be comfortable increasing your ad budgets. And then, but you have to keep it honest by following those customers into the middle of the funnel, and then into bottom of funnel. And then, I hit on this again. What happens six months after they purchased? Are they still a customer, or are they long gone? Yeah. Like, all of this matters. And you ultimately want to zoom out and tie it all together, from the first ad they saw to that last, engagement in the app where they got a lot of value,
Yeah. How much are you guys looking directly at, LTV over client acquisition cost? So lifetime value over client acquisition cost.
That's everything. That's our North Star. You have to understand what the average customer is going to pay you over time. Mm-hmm. I know it's hard to figure it out, but it's not that hard.
Are you able to tell me what your retention, how many months somebody originally stayed versus how many months they stay today, or does that need to be private?
Yeah. In broad strokes, when we first started, we'd be lucky if someone stayed maybe 12 to 16 months.
Okay.
over time by focusing on retention as a goal, as a quantifiable outcome. Gosh, we have many, I mean, we're a 5-year-old company, but we have many, many accounts that have been with us from the very beginning and that have stayed.
Yeah.
And I would say we've gotten much better retention. If it was 12 to 16, it's probably double that now.
How much and something I think about often is, especially as you open up the funnel to more differing people, are you looking at retention overall as well as like over the last 24 months, here's what our retention looks like for these new folks? Or are you just putting it all underneath one umbrella?
We do both. So we look at logo and revenue retention month to month, quarter to quarter, week to week.
What is logo? Sorry.
Logo, meaning just the total number of new businesses we got.
Okay.
For us. And then revenue retention being, well, everybody pays a different amount. Everybody has a different plan, different numbers of clients and things like that. So I'm actually more a fan of revenue retention and revenue churn, the inverse. But they're both important, but I think you can learn a lot more from revenue metrics.
Yeah.
So I think month to month, week to week, revenue retention, but we also look at cohorted data. And this is critical. We look at the users that signed up, say, January 2016. And now we look today, how many of those people do we still have?
Yeah.
And how much on average did the people in that cohort pay us? And so it's a little trickier on the analytics side to isolate just the users that sign up in a given window, whether it's a week or a month or a year, and then follow them over time. But there's way more insights in the cohort analysis than there are in just the month-to-month top line, like revenue data.
Yeah.
So because things are changing and every month is different. And it's kind of like generation, like you want to, Generation X and millennials, and you follow this cohort of people in the population that are kind of the thing that ties them together is they came into the world in the same time window. And it's the same for your business. The thing that ties the January 2016 cohort of TrueCoach users together is they all signed up for TrueCoach in this window. And then some of them are still with us. Some of them left. Some of them left, then came back. And some even left, came back again, left, and came back again.
Yeah.
So the lifetime value is tricky. I will say with enough data, you can use averages. You have enough people coming through that you can kind of use bigger numbers. So the averages actually are quite useful. And another key point is you can segment users. So one clear segmentation would be geographic or by the plan that they're on. So someone that's on a $99 TrueCoach plan is quantifiably worth way more than someone that's on a $19 plan. And so their LTVs are drastically different. So if I'm looking at a time-based cohort, I'm looking at the average, but I could also look at time and plan, or time and country, or time and country and plan. And you can slice, and if you have enough data, you can slice and dice your user data in so many ways, and you can find pockets of people. You might realize that the customers in California that signed up in 2015 ended up paying twice as much as the customers in Oklahoma. And that gives you the honest to then go and spend more money in California, right?
Totally.
So, but you have to slice it up and you have to do the analysis. So.
Oh man, I most likely if a local coach is listening to this right now, they're like, oh my God. Well, this is probably not step one for a lot of coaches. So don't freak out if you're listening to this now, but this is really, really good stuff.
I do think time-based cohorts though, the customers that you acquired in your gym, say in Q1 2016, you want to look at the retention of that cohort. Yeah. If it's 0, you've got to try to figure out like, how do I think just by focusing on retention, that's such a powerful thing. Because if you just focus on acquisition, then you're losing people 3 months in. It's a leaky bucket.
Yep.
And you've got to figure it out at some point.
All right. Totally different neck of the woods here. What do you like doing when you're not studying marketing and software engineering and creation?
Oh, geez. Well, I used to love surfing, but it's been quite some time. Snowboarding, hiking. I'm a beginner level mountain, maybe intermediate level mountain biker out here in Colorado. I like being outdoors to get off the screen because I'm on the screen so much. I just talked to Casey. He says he's just raring for a surf trip. You guys gonna go surfing sometime? I think we have a surf trip due. It's been too long. I found myself staring at like videos yesterday of this place called Skeleton Bay, where people consistently good surfers get like 1 and 2 minute barrels where they're literally in a barrel for 2 minutes.
Wow.
And I'm just like staring at the screen going, okay, this is a sign. I need some surfing in my life.
Where is that? Where is Skeleton Bay?
I think Skeleton Bay is in Africa. There's also a place called Chicama in, believe Peru. And I think it's the longest point break on the planet. It's
wow.
It's a wave that breaks in a clean wave for like miles on a good
wow.
day. So I've never been to some of these places, but I would love, once the travel restrictions like lighten up, to get down to maybe Central America or South America, or maybe Hawaii. I don't know. I've never been to Hawaii.
My wife today sent me an email saying Hawaii round trip air tickets are like $250. So
hey, so yeah, that's actually quite likely. I would love to check out Hawaii.
Oh man, I've been a couple times, Robbie. It's a pretty special spot.
Yeah. So getting in the water is a big priority for me now. Like breaking away from work a little bit and maybe go do some surfing.
Awesome. Well, Robbie, I mean, I really appreciate it. I get lessons from you every time I chat with you, so I always appreciate that, man. Thanks for coming on today.
Thanks
Have a great weekend, and congratulations on TrueCoach. You guys have built something great, and obviously, for those who don't know, they just sold TrueCoach, but you're staying with the company. You're going to build, a bigger juggernaut. So I'm looking forward to it.
Things in the works.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for coming on, Robbie.
Thanks, Jim. Take care.